Hello guys, welcome back to Concrete Elbow. A few days ago, Brian released a podcast video with Juji, and like the title of the podcast, they were mostly talking about people's comments in social media. And the highlight from that video that I want to talk about was Brian's response regarding people saying that he's quitting arm wrestling. So based on what he said, and he had said this a few times already, no, he's not quitting. But at the same time, he has now realized that despite him being literally one of the strongest men who has ever lived, his progress in arm wrestling can't be fast-tracked. He may start at a much higher level than anyone else, but that doesn't mean he can crack the top 10 super heavies in his first few years. Basically, it's like this. 2 years ago when he's just starting, he said he's aiming to be the best, aka he wants to be Levan in the future. But at that time, he thought he would achieve that quickly. And by quickly, he meant that he knows it's still going to take years, but not as much years as anyone else. But after losing to Leonidas, he realized that it's going to take even longer than he thought, because he had about 2 years of experience already, right? And he had trained consistently every day, but he still lost, badly, to someone who we thought wasn't supposed to be that far ahead of him. So that's why now he's not approaching this sport as intense as he was before, because he knows it's going to take a long time before he reaches the top. So he prefers the long-term but consistent approach rather than going all out but only for a while. I think that's what he's trying to say. So that's good, right? That means we're still going to see Brian arm wrestle in the future. But he did one mistake, and that is mentioning Devon's name. At one point in the podcast, Brian said that he thinks Devon is one of the reasons why all of this is happening. I mean, people who kept bugging him with comments saying he's quitting, he's not as good as they thought, things like that. Now, Devon had already responded to that a few days ago in Neil's podcast. He was sarcastically saying that if you can't take a loss, you can't be a champion, and it's good to test it out early. And he and Neil were talking about Brian. So if you see those comments hating on Brian Shaw, it might have been Devon who's behind some of them. But yesterday, Devon released another statement, a challenge to be exact, and you can say that this was more of a direct attack for Brian Shaw.
Just a public presentation to Leonidas. A more authentic, perhaps, Brian Shaw. Only you can tell the difference if you should show up at Ottawa High Hooker Day this year. Now, what do you think, Brent? You beat that guy? Yeah,
Sure.
Easier or harder? Like if you were to put Brian Shaw, like if you were to sub in for Brian Shaw, how would that match have looked?
It'd be a good match. Yeah.
Would you beat him?
Yeah.
You think you'd beat Brian?
Yeah.
Huh.
So that's Brent Darling. Brent is also a genetic anomaly. 6'8", 430 pounds, huge frame, huge hands. But he's still an amateur. He had only started arm wrestling last year, so he's even newer than Brian. Now, Brent did play football in the past, so he had a bit of experience in sports. But I would be really surprised if what he's achieved is anywhere close to what Brian achieved during his strongman career. He probably did it just for fun. And about a week ago, he had a supermatch against Milo. He won, but it wasn't easy. He still lost some rounds. And Milo right now still can't do anything to Auden. So you can kind of imagine Brent's current level, right? He's still far away from being there. And Devon insinuating that someone like Brent can beat Brian now? Well, if I was Brian, I would be really offended. I guess that's why he hasn't contacted Devon in a while now.